Hey, what's up, people? Alright. Another day. No driving today, so we're gonna code. Can't sleep at night anymore. I don't know why. So I take a nap. It's like every day now. Just can't sleep at night. Why? I don't know. Don't know. It's a mystery. Really sucks though when you can't sleep, you know? Just ruins your life, honestly. So much time just wasted laying in bed, not actually sleeping. It's a pretty miserable experience overall. Alright, so yesterday, what did we do? We continued working on code, which to reconnect the client to the proper game. Yep, we already know that. We reviewed last session's code, finished code which extracted proper data from server-side to client-side token payload in client pi. Finished code which saves the token payload game metadata in client. Finished code which loads the token payload game metadata in client upon reconnect, and thoroughly organized things to do. So we stopped at line 10 in things to do, so we're gonna go over there. Yeah, we got it nice and organized, so we should be able to just like jump right in to never download driver booster IOBit. Anything from IOBit, just never download it. I just like, honestly at this point I just want to keep it around so that I can tell other people not to download their software. I had such a bad, there's such an intrusive, it's such an intrusive like program that I would rather have it exist and warn people and tell them not to download the software. It's that bad. So I don't know if I can. Let's see if my audio. Yeah, there we go. It's all good. Okay. So we stopped here. And this is where, there it is again. Boom. Don't ever download driver booster. Never. Alright. So what are we doing here? Create static save data database file and table. This database file and table will be used to save and load the game metadata that is sent at the beginning of the game and never changes, thus it being called static, i.e. reconnect port, game ID, client ID, and maybe local or remote. Yeah, and I guess local or remote. Honestly, I don't know about that one, and I don't feel like I want to think about it at this point. Some things I just put off to the side. I don't want to think about it right now. I want to do what I've been doing. I want to continue on my task. That'll be a side quest for later. What are we at here? 3 minutes, 4 minutes, so we gotta do 64, 65, whatever, doesn't matter. An extra minute. Alright. So, let's see. Create static file. Alright. So this is gonna be client side, right? Yeah, this is gonna be client side. Yeah, this is, so it's be specific here. Create CS code in client pi to we'll add CS code in client pi to create a static save data database file and table. All right. So, that's gonna pertain to this to do right here. It's where we're going to save the client token to. So yesterday, let's just do a quick review here. We have reconnect port gets extracted is equal to payload Python dictionary at reconnect port key, game ID equals payload Python dict at game ID key, client ID equals payload Python dict at client ID key, and then we have, so that looks good, and then we save the reconnect port game ID client ID looking to the database. So, oh yeah, we have to save the actual token. I forgot. Yeah, so shouldn't we save the token to that? So yeah, the client token is like you get it once, right? And you never change it. You receive it the first time, and you never modify it, right? Isn't that true? I believe it is. Yeah, you get it once when you first connect, and then you never modify it. It never changes. And when, like, would you get another one, a different one? Well, that would only be if you started a new game, right? Yeah. So eventually we would have to add code which, like, overwrites the old code, or overwrites the old client token. So at some point we need, and this is important probably, we need to add this as a pressing issue to take care of in the future, and that would be either the deletion of this data or so either the deletion of the data or the overwriting of it. Because if we start a new game, yeah, we're gonna want this stuff to be gone. So I guess at the completion of the game, this data would be erased. Yeah, at the end of the game, it would be erased. Or at the start of a new game, it would be erased. Or, like, honestly, we could just do it at the start of a new game. I feel like that makes more sense, right? Well, it would be one or the other. But if you have an unfinished game and then you start a new game, then you would need it to be deleted at the beginning of the new game. Because it didn't get deleted at the end of the game because you didn't reach the end of the game. So yeah, this would have to be, we'll say, add CS code in a client py to delete static save data db file at start of new game. This we'll say, yeah, this db file would need to be cleared / deleted prior to receiving the client token and saving that data. I think deletion would be preferred over overwriting, although I'm not sure there's really much of a difference there. Yeah, there's really not, like, you could overwrite. I think deletion is just more like absolute. I like the idea of deleting because then I don't have to wonder if it actually got, like, you know, if it actually got erased. This is like verifying. It's a little bit more absolute, I guess. Okay, so there we go. ICS going to climb release static save data at start of new game. This DB file would need to be cleared, deleted prior to receiving the client token and saving that data. I think deletion would be preferred to overwriting, although I'm not sure there's really much of a difference. And the reason to not use old game data. Yeah, I mean that's kind of a given, isn't it? But okay, so back to this. Add CS code and client body create static save data DB file and table. So let's see about when should we create this. Well, I guess, and we'll add this as a to-do. Well, no, we'll just leave it in there because we don't know where it's gonna be, right? We'll cross. Getting ahead of ourselves. Don't get ahead of yourself. Just focus on the task at hand. So, should this be created at the beginning? Like, should this be created in the init? Or didn't we change that to where it doesn't actually get created in the init? Or this is part of save data, isn't it? Yeah, the save logic. Yes, here it is. Okay. Creates DB file doesn't this? I would say we would go ahead and like do this at this point, right? It's basically the alternative to the save data, which that one's going to be changed to be called dynamic. So we're going to have two separate databases. We're going to have the static save data, then the dynamic save data. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We will. I'm just thinking about yeah, so if it already existed, like if you're reconnecting, it's not going to recreate the database file because obviously you don't want it to do that. You want it to use the existing one because you're going to load from that. So this connect only creates the DB file if it doesn't exist. So then we would have a cursor, a DB cursor, sub.db cursor. So I think, yeah, we'll do it like so. We're going to copy this. It's basically going to be the same exact thing. It's really just for the purpose of like proper segregation and organizational clarity. And also there would have been a bug, like we would have had to add an if into the other database. So this is going to be called static save data. So we're going to change this to say static save data db isolation level none. Creates db file if doesn't exist. Isolation number goes on, enables auto commit. 425 verified. The syntax does work via testing and test reminders. Okay. Creates the dynamic save data database and sets up its pragma settings. Creates the associated cursor and sets up its pragma settings. And now this one is going to create the static so this needs to be changed to be so it's not going to be self.db, otherwise it would overwrite. It needs to be self. And since we changed it, we have to put this as a thing to do. Since changing from, this should actually go up here. Self.db to self.dynamic db need to project search to modify all associated code that references it, the object. Well, this one doesn't actually have that, so that's not going to be a problem. But this needs to be called something different. So we can call it, well, how about static db? So static db, and then self.static. How about this? Static cursor, self.static db.cursor. Let me get rid of all the discount double checks because they're actually not valid anymore. Same thing for this. One thing at a time here, dude. Static db, static save data db, static cursor, self-static db.cursor. Self.static cursor. Static cursor execute table if not exists. And we'll call it just to differentiate, we'll call it static save data. Well, this one doesn't actually need to be like updated. It doesn't need to be included in because it's not going to be unstable and constantly updated. It's not going to be, so it doesn't need to be copied to save data stable and save data stable backup. Right, because we don't really, I don't think we really are going to use it in that way. So that's not really accurate, actually. Okay. Alright, so we did create that. That's done. Let's just review real quick. Self.staticdb equals SQLite connect db static save data db isolation level none. Yes. Creates the static save data db, creates the associated cursor and sets up its pragma settings. And this is for static, unchanging, early game metadata, such as game ID. And we'll just reconnect port, game ID, client ID, and local or remote. Creates the associated cursor. Alright, and we have static cursor equals self.staticdb.cursor. So that looks good. That looks good. That also looks good. Static cursor execute pragma journal mode, write ahead logging. Synchronous equals normal. Not exist. Static save data ID integer primary key auto increment object name text value is going to be blob. All right. It's not 7.2. Why do we put 7.2? It's 7.22. Gotta be careful there. Okay, so that's done. We add code. We added code in. Well, it's not in client by actually. That was actually in save logic to create static save data db file and table. db file and table will be used to load the game metadata that is sent at the beginning of the game and never changes. Reconnect port. Yeah, so that's done now. Added code. So let's put that in our devlog here. Added code in save logic.py which creates the static save data db file and table to save load early game metadata such as reconnect port rather. Reconnect port, game ID, client ID, and local or remote. Okay. Alright, so now we need to modify code in client pi to save static data to static save data db file table. Add code which saves the static game metadata to this file and database. Happens around lines 389 to 395 in client. So let's go over there. Alright. Insert into save data. Nope. Database cursor. Now this needs to be changed to instead not database.cursor but database.static cursor, right? Yeah, this is for static data. So we use static cursor. That's all we need to change, right? And we shouldn't have to do update or whatever, but that's like, we're not worried about that. So database.static cursor execute many insert into save data object name value values on conflict object name do update set value equal excluded value serialized tuple, and this will iterate through that serialized tuple and add the data in. Okay, database static cursor execute many, and it also will contain the client token. So let's see, early game metadata. So we'll just put client token. Yeah, the client token, because we actually need the token itself. The token holds the payload, but we also need the token itself, right? Let's see. And the table is actually called static save data. I don't think I just need to do update set blah blah blah. Okay, so now what do we do? Static cursor. Database cursor. Database static cursor. I feel like well, that's done. That's all we needed to do, right? Yeah, that will insert it into the static save data table, into the static save data or static save data database. Creates table if not exists. Static save data. Yeah. Okay. So we're good. Can continue. So that's done. Modified CS code. Add code saves the static game metadata to the file in that database. See how easy? When you got everything nice and organized, it goes rather quickly, doesn't it? Added code, which saves the, we'll say modified. Say modified code in client pi, which saves the static game metadata to the static save data file database. Saves to save the static instead of the dynamic save data table. Alright, what's next? Modify CS code in client pi to load static data from static save data db file table. Modify CS code in client pi to load static data from static save data db file table. database file in DB. It happens around line 399. Okay, so that's right here. Object name iterable. Reconnect port, client ID, game ID, local or remote. Database cursor execute. So this is, we're gonna get this from the static cursor instead, right? Yeah, static cursor. And we're gonna select the object name value from static save data, where object name is in that iterable. Static cursor execute value from static save data. Set rows equals database dot static cursor. Yeah, that's it, I think. Modify save data database file and table namespace to dynamic save data. Change the namespace of the database file and table to reflect the fact that it handles dynamic changing data as opposed to static save data. Okay, easy. So let's go over to save logic. Well, we also need to say modify associated code in save logic. Apply, and then modify associated code in client. So let's do save logic first, since we put that one first. So now this is not just going to be called, and we're going to do project search to modify all tangential / referencing code to this object. Alright, so now we have .db. This is going to be changed to dynamic db, right? So dynamic. And first, let's put this one first. Let's put this one first. Because static is like it happens. It's taken care of first, right? So this is going to be called dynamic underscore db. We don't want to copy all that. We just want to copy that. And this is going to be a different file name. It's going to be called dynamic save data. Then we're going to have the dynamic cursor, self.dynamic db. Self.dynamic cursor. Self.dynamic cursor. Dynamic cursor. Alright, let's review. So we have self.dynamic db equals SQLite 3 connect db dynamic save data. This is not equal none. Creates db file doesn't exist. Okay, dynamic cursor equals self.dynamic db.cursor. Dynamic cursor execute. Alright, so that's good. Creates table not exist, and this needs to be changed to table to be called dynamic save data. Alright. So this would pertain to self.db and then self.cursor, right? Yeah, it needs to be changed to self.dynamic cursor, and this one needs to be changed to self.dynamic db. I gotta use the bathroom real quick, guys. I'll be right back. Where's my Giphy thing? There it is. Alright, we're back. Let's see here. Okay, so dynamic cursor, dynamic save data, blah blah blah. Wait a second, man. We could have just created another table, right? We could have just created another table, dude. We didn't need to actually create another database. We could have just created another table. There's no reason to have them in different database files, is there? Is there actually a reason for that? No, there's not. We could just put it inside of a we would just need to put it inside of a different table. So we could just have the singular save data file with multiple tables, and that would make it to where we don't have to use different cursors and stuff. We could use the same cursor. We would just use a different table And that's what we're going to do. So I'm an idiot. Now we're just going to basically undo this little bit of work that we did. It's not a lot, but it's enough to piss me off. It's enough to piss me off. There it is. Alright, so we just undid all that. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to create the new table instead. Alright. So this is going to be self-db, self-cursor, and then we're just going to have another table get created, and that's going to be the dynamic or static save data, and then we're gonna have this one is not gonna be backed up and stuff because it doesn't change. Doesn't need to be backed up, as does dynamic save data, because the data never changes. Well, I guess maybe we should back it up just for security. Well, wouldn't it already get backed up because it's... Yeah, it backs up the entire file, so it automatically would get backed up. I'm an idiot. Okay, I wanted to make sure that the like vacuum, it didn't handle in terms of table, it handles in terms of the file, so it's gonna like do the whole file. It's gonna include all the tables in that. That's what I wanted to make sure of. Okay, so that's good now. Now what do we need to do? Alright, let's go over to client. Alright, so let's change this code here. Let's go one by one here. So we don't need static cursor. This could just be so that was it. That was all we changed. Okay, cool. It's not a lot. So let's fix this again. So what we're gonna do is we say execute many, insert into, and this is gonna go into static, right? Yeah. It's gonna go into static save data table. Insert into static save data table, and then so we're gonna use the original cursor. It's a lot easier like this. But not from save data. This is going to be from static save data. And then there we go. That easy. Alright, and then what do we need to do? Static save data table. What a fucking nightmare that was. Alright. So I could have just added one line of code to do all this. But then I would have to run that every single time, and that is a lot. So that makes it makes me feel a little bit better about it. Makes me feel a little bit less like an idiot. I mean, you know, it does increase the performance. So there's that. Static save data. I'm just making sure I got all this right here. Select one from save data. Yeah, this should be dynamic save data. Yeah. All right, that was aggravating. Now we have the two, dynamic and static, instead of just one. Was it really necessary? We could have just added the if, the one-liner. Fuck it. We're accessing that database a lot, like a lot. So I guess every little saved bit of performance, you know, is worth it. Maybe, I don't know. I'm guessing it's a performance increase. So it's done now, right? It didn't take that long. It's just like every little task feels like a chore when you're this deep and like just ready to be done with the project. So it kind of makes you want to cut corners and just like not focus on performance, you know, whatever. But it's like just do it right, do it the right way. Add CS code and client bar to save client token. Must save client token. This will be the last thing we do. Then we're going to be done for the day. So we must save client token for DB reconnect validation after an is received from server side to client side in client pi. So C line 370. All right, there we go. So let's save this client token, and we're going to save it to static DB or the static save data. So let us do that. How do we do this? Let's go. So we have the client token. It's a Python object. So we need to serialize it, right, before we can insert it into. So we'll do copy this line here. Serialized. We'll just call this the client token. Client token. Serialized client token equals pickle dumps. This will be client's token. Serializes the client token. Alrighty then. So we'll serialize that. And then we need to insert it into the database, right? So I just say database.cursor execute. Insert into static save data object name value values on conflict. So into that table, object name values columns are affected. The values are two placeholders on conflict of object name. Do update Wait a second, this is not right. I always forget how to use so object name value object name client token value serialized client token value serialized client token. I think that's right. Okay, so we have the serialize. So we get the client token, then we do serialize client token equal pickle dumps client token. Serialize client token equals pickle dumps client token. Yeah, dump serializes client token. Then we do database cursor, execute, insert into static save data. The object name value, values two placeholders on conflict of object name. Do update set value equal to whatever the value is. So we have the object name, client token, and then the value, serialized client token, serialized client token. That should be correct, I think. Now we can move this to happen prior to that. Okay, what else? Oh, that's done. Alright, we did it. Save the client token. We need to load in the client token, right? So now we need to add code in client to load. Code and client by send ID client token upon reconnect. Add CS code and client by to send. Oh, we need, yeah, that'll be next. Add CS code and client by to load client token. Must load client token from static save data. For reconnect validation. So upon reconnect. Also client token from static save data for reconnect validation. Upon reconnect. To load client token. Okay. Alright, so that's it. We did it. It was ugly. It took way longer than it should have, but we got it right. Progress is progress, whatever. What do we need to do next? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. So we need to load the client token from static save data. That's like super easy to send a client ID client to upon reconnect. Wouldn't we just send the client token instead of the client ID? Can't we just send the client token with all the data in the payload instead of sending A2 with client data or client ID? Yes, this is like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. We'll say 15, 15, 30, 45, because you know things take longer. And then that's another 15, so that's an hour. Server-side code and server to create server-side client ID token dict. That's another 15 minutes. So we're looking at 15, 30, 45, 60, 75. So an hour and 15, about an hour and 15 minutes to finish these next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tasks. And then that's pretty much going to be it. Finally, like I don't think there's anything else that's gonna pop up. I think like this is actually, I don't think this issue current issues list is gonna grow any longer, just because like God, it's been doing that, right? Like we've been doing this for a week or two now, where we were like, oh, we got 3 hours left, 3 hours left, 3 hours left. That happened like 10 different times, and but I feel like everything is done at this point. I don't think there's more. Like, I just don't. I mean, there's probably going to be something, at least one thing, but God, like, it's got to end, right? Like, eventually we're going to be able to test all this. It's got to happen soon. It's just taking so long. Oh, man, it's a process, bro. It's such a freaking process. But, yeah, we're basically done with this. So, next session, we should be able to knock out all of these, and then this is really just like an older task that pertains to the overall work. So we should probably just like review. This is basically just like review task to just like review everything and make sure everything's like nice and in order, and then do a test. So actually I'll add that. We'll say review recent work prior to test. We're just gonna say look over for caution, comments, and such to quickly review the reconnect. What do you call it? Reconnect system code. Prior to testing. Yeah, so that's going to take a little bit too. So it's probably going to take us, I'll say about 2 hours, and then we'll be able to do testing. So honestly, next session, we should be able to test this. If not next session, the session after that. Finally, dude. Anyway, probably going to go to the gym. Maybe. We'll see. And I hope you guys have a good day. So, peace.